Hello, everybody. Welcome to Irongeek Cast number 166. Follow Adrian on OnlyFans. Okay, I really don't have an OnlyFans yet, but you know, who knows? If the economic situation gets worse, I might start one. There might be someone out there that wants to watch me. I don't know. You never know. Probably not likely, but
you never know. There's always that.
Well, years ago, before I had long hair, I had a buddy. Let's call him Rob Bastard because that's his nickname. And I hear kids in the background. Okay. He frequented a website for women who like guys with long hair because he was trying to hook up. So I decided to go out and look for websites for women who like guys who are particularly hirsute because I look like a fucking Neanderthal. And I didn't find any sites with women, but I did find out about the bear and cubby community. So, you know, there are certain people out there that would like my type, but no offense to those people. It's just not my particular persuasion.
I'd kind of like to see the guy where you are the cubby.
Oh shit!
That's a tall order.
You see my picture, right, Israel?
Well, yeah, but too. How tall are you? You said you're 6'4", 6'5"?
No, I'm like 6'2".
Yeah, but technically, I think Adrian's about your height. I'm
a 6'3", depending on wearing heels or not.
Yeah, you know how poofy has his hair that day.
Yeah, I've been measured at 6'3" before, but then more recent measurements, it seems to be more like 6'2", so that's about my height.
Yeah, the heels caught me off guard.
So it'd take someone Caprico's height with an extra 100 pounds on him or so.
Yeah.
So basically, Caprico's height with my width. Yeah.
Yeah, you would need someone like I'm forgetting his name. The kid from District 1, like the tall from Hunger Games, and he's also plays Bjorn in Vikings. Because he is, well, granted, I'm taller than him, but I'm also just super lanky.
Oh, by the way, I noticed you've changed your avatar, Darren, from David Silverman to something else.
Yeah, I did that a couple weeks ago. You were talking about it last week.
Oh, I did mention it? Okay.
Yeah. And I looked at the comic that actually has it, the artist.
Which Darren said was an excellent comic.
Yes, it is a very funny comic. Very funny.
We got Cameron and Zero and Jack in the chat, but Jack's also on the channel, so.
Yeah, Jack kind of goes both ways.
I'm looking at the show notes. We have a bunch of announcements. I actually put in some dates for WhoSetCon because someone sent me the details. Oh, great. Now, I'm trying to remember who sent me the details. Oh, yes, Barry. Barry sent me the details on when WhoSetCon has been moved to, and that's early September. Hopefully, they'll still be able to keep that. I don't know how long this lockdown shit's going to keep going.
True that. As well as, you know, who immediately is going to start going to cons again, right?
Yeah.
Because I was talking to some people today about that, because I don't know if I will be corporately representing my company at any cons this year. Just because one-on-one meetings will probably start happening again. You know, like salespeople meeting with either individuals or teams, but actually seeing 1,000 people in a 2 to 3 day time span, probably not.
Yeah, I'm doing video for Hoosier HackerCon, and their ticket sales has not been as good as they would hope.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of people are holding off because they don't know what's going to happen with everything. So, and apparently, B-Sides Las Vegas has canceled.
Correct.
And, but Black Hat, I think, and DEF CON have not officially canceled yet.
Not officially. I've been hearing a lot. Rumor mill side that DEF CON is getting ready to here soon, but that's currently just hearsay.
Hopefully a bunch of cons can get out of the contract. I know Circle City Con is also doing some online thing instead. And Hoosier HackerCon's doing its own webinars every Thursday, but unfortunately this Thursday the guy who was going to do it, Pyro, has had some kind of conflict or something, so he may not be able to do it tomorrow. So we may have to do this a hangout or something. I don't know.
Did the conflict involve fire in any way?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Let's see. We got Live Beef on, got Jack, Cappy. So for me, I've had a pretty good week. It's finally starting to get warm, which makes me happy. So,
Oh yeah, it got warm for a bit, then it got cold really sudden, and then now it's finally gotten better.
Yeah, it got back up to even par. Yeah, because we here in Ohio, well, at least in this part of Ohio where I'm at, hit 70 for the first time this year yesterday, and I think we hit it again today. Now we're not going to consistently stay up there yet, but at least there's hope. We actually hit some decent temperatures, but now all the rain is going to come back. So
yeah, somewhere in March, I think Indiana, South Indiana where I'm at, hit 80 or something.
No,
and then
crap, really?
Then it went down into the 30s and 40s again.
Yeah,
but now I think it's consistently in the high 60s. Well, like mid 60s, maybe 62 right now, supposedly according to my phone.
Yeah, it's not too shabby.
If I could do 65 year round, I'd be pretty cool with that.
Yeah, I'm good anywhere between like 65 and say like 80. Once it starts getting past 80 and you start getting humidity in there, yeah. But even 80 with humidity, I'm still kind of okay with that.
Yeah.
You should move to the Canary Islands. It's pretty much like 70 degrees year round.
Well, see, yeah, I mean that's just perfect golf weather.
Then you have places like San Diego where I remember being there in the fall and the temperature got down to like, I don't know, 60, 65, and they would bring out the space heaters.
Oh yeah, see, I'm from San Diego, and yeah, that's true. People do it all the time. Like I think the coldest it gets during the winter is like 40, and people are like, "Oh my god, it's so fucking cold." And I'm like,
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
A lot of people right now are doing a lot of video chats. So 2 weeks ago, I was on with one of my buddies and quite a few others, but he lives out in the Los Angeles area, and it was, I think, 62. And he was out there with a coat where he had to go inside, get a coat, and come back out while, drinking some selective drinks and smoking cigars. Like, really? It's 62. Yeah, it's cold. Okay.
I'm a fat, hairy dude with all my ancestry pretty much being Western European and British Isles. So it gets down in the 50s, 40s. It's still shorts weather.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not a fat, hairy dude, and for me, it's shorts weather down to about, I'd say 35. Sandals till about 25.
I don't do sandals so much, but
yeah,
I can't do sandals, but I learned my lessons about doing shorts when I was in New York one winter, and I was in my car when I'm assuming the wind chill was below zero. I have not even going to go anywhere near that. It was just pure pain just having the skin exposed outside.
Yeah, see,
my
like
childhood.
Yeah, I mean, for Caprico, once it gets up to 15 degrees, that's time to break shorts out and go swimming.
No, there's actually a metric for. Well, no, 15's a little. You still have ice. You could go.
Are you kidding? That's barbecue weather for him.
I mean, nothing against doing that, but 15's a little nutty. But if you go out to the bigger lakes, you can definitely do some windsurfing when it's like 10, 15 degrees out.
Oh, that's disgusting.
windsurfing on the water, you land in the water wouldn't. Well, actually, yeah, the water maintains its temperature for a bit, doesn't it?
Very little, but yeah.
Okay, because imagine hitting that water. That's a quick way to get your ass frostbitten.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. There are varying levels of intelligence there, so we'll just say that.
My part of Indiana is a little more hilly than other parts of Indiana, so we don't have as big a problem with that freezing ass wind that you might get in some places.
Mm-hmm. The thing that's different though, and a lot of Minnesotans probably will attest to this, is it's a very dry cold. If you take me or any other Minnesotan and put us in Chicago or New York when it's like they're cold. Ugh, yeah, no, it's a bad idea. Wet cold is worse for us.
especially with shorts on.
Yeah, I had some bad
Yeah, no,
times
we
up
didn't.
near Cleveland. I had frostbite on my hands. I remember like 2 weeks later, I was like, why is my skin peeling off my fingers? Oh, yeah, that's right. I was changing my windshield wipers in the fucking below like sub-zero temperatures or something. It was not a good scene.
Yeah, I haven't been frostbit, but I have had my hand freeze.
Amputated.
No.
Science is amazing.
Yeah. You know, those lizard genomes that I now have in my body are great.
Yeah.
Especially when the girlfriend gets
Wait, you said
angry,
you have 2 what?
Ba-da-ba-ba.
Wait, there is a lizard that has 2 penises, isn't there?
I think so.
I think there is. All right, actually, we have a resident expert here. Liz, do you know? Anyway,
I do not know which lizards have 2 penises, but I'm
I'll find out. Joe Rogan has Jamie. I just have myself for this.
No, I did have my hand freeze one day when I was refueling planes at a different job in high school, and it was so cold on the airfield that a little bit of fuel got onto my glove, which then froze, and then it seeped in and froze my hand in this position.
Wait, the fuel froze?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, isn't it like 99% alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
How in the hell does that freeze? That's the whole point of alcohol.
It was negative 40.
It looks like gecko may be one type of lizard that has 2 penises. Or hemipenis, as they call it. Oh, I'm not quite sure what to categorize this thing as.
You can say 15% in 15 minutes with Geico. Also, the gecko has 2 dicks. And demonetized.
Yeah, I've largely given up monetization idea on the stream. We stream too much shit occasionally that occasionally infringes on someone else's copyright in their opinion, and then someone else claims it. So be it.
It is what it is. I mean, even just us critiquing the new Marvel heroes or whatever a few weeks back.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was funny.
Not to get derailed on that, how about we start hitting some notes?
Oh, before we hit notes, so I don't know if this was a mismark on the pricing, but so you guys can see in the background, you know, I got my old HP. Well, old. I mean, it was like 2014, so I guess it's getting a little old for a printer. But my HP back there, and all of a sudden, my wife sends a print to it the other day. My son gets it off the printer, and I don't think he actually did anything to the printer, but he got the printout. And then she sent a second thing to the printer, and nothing. It's done. Like
there's a chip inside there that has a print count, and it breaks on purpose, and you can reprogram it.
I may look into that, but
I've mostly heard that for being printer cartridges rather than
for the
itself.
cartridges, yeah, which I 100% knew about.
No. There's a chip inside that particular printer because I've had to do it.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
just like a JTAG header that you'd have to attach to then.
Yeah, it's basically just a firmware upgrade.
Got it.
Gotcha.
So Israel, I'll send you a link to what you need for that to program it via USB.
Yeah. But I also have another printer coming now, though, just because I've been looking to upgrade for a couple years now. So I do have a laser, color laser printer coming, which is now going to be not ink because I'm tired of ink. I wanted toner previously, but toner-based printers were freaking expensive, and they still are freaking expensive. But I did find one, a Lexmark on Newegg, and this one company was selling it for like $220, where everybody else, like their minimum was 550. So I was like, I don't know, we'll see. So I put the order through, and I just got verification that it's shipping out. So by this time next week, I may have toner-based printer that some companies are charging $700+ for, and I got for like a third that or less. So we shall see. I'm a little on the excited side.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
last week's may have got demonetized. I'm not sure because someone pointed out the fact that the thumbnail. I think I tried to change it, but I don't know if it did change. We were showing the pistolas, and YouTube is apparently a bit anally attentive about that too.
Of
Oh,
what?
guns.
You were showing
Well, you have to have it unloaded.
Oh yeah, and we're not allowed to say that, are we?
Oh, no, I don't care. Actually, the screenshot is still Israel showing off one of his pistols.
Yeah.
I tried changing it, and it didn't seem to take.
Really? That was last week?
I believe so. Yes.
Oh, I thought that was a couple weeks ago. But yeah, could have been last week.
Let me see if I can edit it and make it something else. But it's you holding up whatever pistol that particular one is.
Yeah, YouTube demonetization. It doesn't really understand context and makes a lot of mistakes. Like, I know someone who had a random sentence of theirs. Google Translate, Google translation engine thought he said the N-word. He didn't. He said nothing like it. But because they thought he did, they demonetized the entire video.
Ooh, that sucks.
I just changed the thumbnail. Hopefully it changes. No, I just changed the thumbnail to Charles, but it still shows Israel.
Control-Shift-R. See if you've still got it cached. Weird web dev trick. If you're doing any sort of image manipulation or image uploading software building or application building, Control-Shift-R is your friend.
I think it's something different on a Mac and Trash.
Command-Shift-R.
Usually Command or Function and then F5. Try that instead.
It still shows Israel.
Command F5.
Israel is very persistent. Such a jackass.
Advanced persistent Israel.
That's right.
API.
Yes. That's what API really
Just call him
is.
Rashad.
Our show looks a little gangster. I'm all right. I'm okay with it. I already have crazy motherfuckers wanting to red flag my ass.
Do you want me to pull out mine real quick and make that the thumbnail?
Yeah, do I need to break out the guns in the Hawaiian shirt here? Are we having the next Trimmers movie for on Adrian's behalf?
Yeah, I was on a quick call today, and they asked, "What things would you grab out of your house if there was a fire first?" And I was like, "You know what? I'm not sure I want to say this to my coworkers, but I have an expensive gun that my uncle left me when he passed away, and it's a Colt Python." I'm like, that thing's hard to come by. I know it's kind of a collector's item, so I don't know if I think I'd probably grab that thing first.
And what was the scenario? If your house was on fire, or
I think his house was on fire.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like collectible things, yes. If it is a life and death, I'm gonna take my firearm that's probably like a 9mm. That's most easily, or a 22. Most ammo available. More
357 is pretty common, and a Python can shoot a 38 special too.
Yeah, 38 special is not too shabby.
They're pretty common. Both those calibers are pretty common to find.
As well as if you have any handheld reloading gear, that's always nice.
I sold all that off, unfortunately.
Oh well, that's just absurd.
My uncle had a lot of loading gear, though I think his was mostly for shotguns, so I don't know if he had anything for pistols and rifles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, shotgun, it's definitely worth it too. I have multiple friends who do some very, very interesting shotgun loads. Paper
we pulled
clips.
Over 2,000 rounds of 12-gauge shotgun shells out of my uncle's house when he passed away.
Holy cow!
He did a lot of.
Ready for the apocalypse.
Well, he did a lot of trap shooting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. How many rounds, Adrian?
Over
12,000.
2,000.
Oh, I thought you said 12,000.
No,
Oh,
no, over
2,000?
2,000.
That's not too bad. I'm trying to think of how many I have. Shit.
Yeah,
I've
because
got
shotgun.
a couple hundred at least.
Yeah, shotgun. I know I'm over 1,000, but I don't think I'm at 2,000. Yeah, because whenever you said 12,000, I was like, whoa, yeah, that's
Not
a lot.
that. He had some guns though. He had some guns for trap shooting that were very pricey, my understanding. So
like the Benellis and some
yeah,
of those.
I don't remember the names. I'd have to go find the sheet from the auction house that sold it. But it's like there's only so much stuff I could keep oiled and taken care of and so forth.
Yeah.
So I only kept like 2 of his shotgun, maybe 3 of his shotguns.
Yeah, there's honestly only like 2 shotguns I really want, and that's a Beretta and Benelli. And outside of that, like, I'm not gonna have anything really that I hang above a mantle, right? Those are about the only 2 for me that
He had a really nice
really interested in.
automatic I kept, and those some
Like a
serious
Sega.
No, Browning. It's from Browning.
Oh, it's a Browning.
Yeah, it's a Browning automatic, and it's pretty nice. And then there's one from Sears and Roebuck.
Really?
Yes, a really old shotgun that
like a single shot.
Well, apparently there was some question about the barrel length that kept them from auctioning it off. Then I kept another one of his pumps, and then I have a KSG I bought myself, which in hindsight I wish I hadn't bought because the KSG. I don't know if you ever tried to reload one of the KSGs. Or just load the KSG. It's kind of awkward to put the shells in the tube. Tubes, I should say, because it has 2 tubes.
Oh yeah, it's the one that kind of goes down and then wraps around, right?
I don't know about say wrap around, but you can actually select which tube you're feeding from. So the idea is if you're shooting full length 12 gauge. I can't remember what the size is. It's part of my ignorance.
2 3/4 and 3 inch.
That's big. That's the full size one.
There's 2 3/4, 3 and 3.5, but 3.5 is a Magnum round. Most shotguns can't handle them.
And they make also a really small.
Yeah, like 2.5 inch and like 2 inches, like those mini mags that I think Fiocchi or Aguila makes.
The standard 12 gauge rounds you normally would find in Walmart, it will hold 7 in each tube, so 14 rounds total. And the idea is partly you could also put slugs on one side, shot in the other side if you wanted to, and switch between them.
Okay.
That was supposed to be a big selling point for police. Is, you can go, buckshot on one side, rubber slugs on the other for, less lethal. So.
Oh yeah, people would fuck that up.
I want rubber shot on one side and beanbags on the other.
That's pretty much why, like, if you have rubber shotguns, they're usually like spray painted green or blue and only loaded with that because you don't want to fire a lethal round instead of a non-lethal gun or vice versa.
If I'm in a stressful situation, I don't know if I know to hit that lever at the right point.
Right.
Tactical and jamming.
All right, let's get on the show notes, I guess.
Okay. And this week's show notes are brought to you by Frank, who is not here. So,
oh god,
we're gonna wing it.
I have some of these.
Oh, okay, good. Because I have no clue. First up, and Cappy, you are coming in kind of low on your audio levels.
Okay.
Oh, that's much better.
Trying to find the sweet spot because if I go too high, Jitsi likes to only set its camera on me, but
you're so putty.
That's true. Right? Yeah. Especially in the mouthula region. Okay, first off, automatic number plate recognition in Sheffield, UK, accessible over internet without password. So the details of this information have been leaked. Apparently, there are 8.6 million records that were left exposed. The system is called ANPR, automatic number plate recognition. But yeah, let's see if we can. I'm assuming it was probably either one, a database or a Docker container or a mixture of both.
Let's go with both.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing them say exactly what it was. Because there's always a couple people that we're gonna initially point to, especially on the side of Docker, that most likely found it. But
I think
Entity
Amazon
Bound.
S3 bucket or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, I got another article from Security Boulevard that is lack of basic security measures on Sheffield, and this is a town in the UK.
In the
ANPRs, in the UK.
In the UK, yes.
Exposes 8.6 million records of vehicle movements and license plate numbers. So not only to give away your license plate if you live in Sheffield, but also your vehicle movements. So like where you go on a day-to-day basis. By the way, the police are tracking you, by the way.
That's kind of cool, though, because for people who don't move all that well, it's not going to be all that entertaining. But those who have some really, really good moves, like on a dance show, this could be something that kind of propels their careers. I am totally joking about that one. Yeah, that went nowhere.
So let's see here. Earlier this week, Chris Kubeka and freelance writer Gerard Jansen stumbled upon a major security flaw in Sheffield Security Council's automatic ANPR system. Following the discovery, the pair shared their findings with the registered website, who publicly shared the story and informed district authorities. It appears that accessing the ANPR's internal dashboard was a piece of cake. No authentication methods or credentials were required, and anyone could have viewed or browsed the live system with a simple copy paste of its IP address. So that's more of just, you're just not
that's just like
doing
no
anything at
thought
all
about security. Yeah,
that's
not even like compromising a Docker host or a leaky bucket. That's just
that's a negative, Ghostwriter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will add this one to the show notes because it kind of goes a little more in depth than that one.
Excellent.
From BBC, but BBC is general news.
BBC. Okay, next up. Nintendo breach affects 160,000 accounts.
They're going to get slapped hard.
Slapped hard. That's what she said.
Because a lot of those are going to be kids.
Yeah. Okay. So what is included? Because I don't know yet what's included in this. So it includes name, date of birth, gender, country, region, and email address. Yes, they will be slapped hard. Especially once you start thinking EU side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are definitely going to get nailed on this one. Well, do we know? Because 160,000 accounts doesn't seem like that many, from a Nintendo perspective. I'm wondering if this was like geographical, like only say kids or logins from a specific country, or because this definitely feels like a subset of all the accounts. I sure hope they don't only have 160,000 accounts total.
It's not required to play their games, but yeah.
Or else, how are they still surviving? The attack man.
IP.
Yeah.
It's Mario. Mario, Zelda, all that stuff.
Bond. James Bond. That's the only reason I ever break out any type of a Nintendo system is specifically for Bond. Yes. As well as, yes, on the Wii they remade it. Did they do anything past the Wii?
No. A group of guys made the game in the Source engine, so you can play it on PC.
Is GoldenEye that great? Because I know people.
Hell yeah!
20 years later.
Oh yeah, it's a good game. Also, Caprico, the Source remake, they've only got multiplayer right now, but they are working on single player. I saw.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that because I
really
never did much of the single player.
Wait, you said you never did much?
The single player, no, I didn't.
Oh, so you want to go back and kind of experience that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for me, like I could care less about the single player. It for me was always about the multiplayer, and unfortunately, my wife will not play GoldenEye with me. She'll play some other games every once in a while, but she won't play GoldenEye just because she lasts about 5 seconds. So she regenerates and 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you got your gun? Okay, pow. Sorry.
I never.
Let me guess, you odd jobber.
Oh no, I don't odd job. I just knew the boards that well.
I was
Yeah,
never
she
good.
could show up anywhere.
I was never
Huh?
good at 3D shooters on consoles. I got pretty good with a mouse and a keyboard
Mhm.
on like Quake 2. This is how far back I'm going with it. But I was never good with consoles.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's by far the best where I was at on a console. I did like Half-Life and Half-Life. No, I did Half-Life 2. Yeah, Half-Life 2 quite a bit, and Team Fortress back in like 2000 or early 2000s. So I was always a sniper in those. But yeah, it was. Yep, used to be fun. And then Japan's bandwidth and their lag got crazy low, and there was no beating anybody then. They upgraded and took everybody like gigabit at their homes, 20 years ago now. And yeah, I couldn't keep up with that.
Koreans are typically, I always have Koreans more than Japanese as far as owning people.
Yeah, and that may be now. I just know 20 years ago, there may have been a handful of Koreans, but I mean, Japanese were just like flying so far ahead of us at that point in time. I mean, gigabit to the home 20 years ago. It's like
it's
crazy.
not the gigabit or 100 megabit or 10 megabit. I mean, as long as your game's not using that much bandwidth, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but their lag went from standard levels to next to nothing. Because not only did they have gigabit to the home, but then the backend infrastructure was running, higher than gigabit too. And if you remember, like early 2000s, we still didn't have most of our carriers like fully running. Well, I mean the big carriers, but kind of the outliers didn't have everything up to even gigabit levels at that point from an IP, like public IP or public networking perspective.
Oh yeah, the backbone is they probably have a lot less oversubscription of the links.
Yeah.
That would be the most likely thing I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Because they were still doing, we'll say 2001, 2002, they were still doing like 5-6 meg to an end user. And you can get a lot of 5-6 megs into 1 gigabit.
Right, because I remember my job at the time had a T1, and I remember volunteering to stay late all the goddamn time.
Yeah, and that's 3 meg right there, or no, 1.5. So you have bonded T1s, and then you finally hit 3 meg.
Oh, I remember back in like 98, 99, this is when we still had dial-up at home, and my dad had to go into work at one weekend, so I went with him, and I used a spare computer there with their T1 line, and I brought like a bunch of floppy disks and started just downloading shit off the internet, all kinds of ROMs and shit, because like it got fast. So I was like, hell yeah!
Yeah. This is stuff that you waited a week at home for.
Yeah, you waited several hours just for a single ROM because it was a meg file, and that took you for fucking ever.
Oh yeah.
Right. I remember downloading something that was like close to a gig, and it took 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Now I don't download gigabit video files of some variety. In like 15 minutes, no problem.
Oh, actually, did anyone ever see the old Quake movie, Escape from the Bastille?
No.
No. Okay, it was like the very first machinima movie ever came out. It was actually really good quality back then, but it was like a 30 meg movie, and yeah, downloading that on dial-up took like fucking 6 to 10 hours just to download that thing.
Yeah, I think there was a 10 megabit. No, it's a megabyte file that I thought was kind of amazing to watch video wise. And it was just like a segment of Terminator 2 that I downloaded in the late 90s.
Well, and two, like download speeds and everything, as well as coupling that with like Windows. That was why I moved over and started doing so much torrent stuff back in the day, because, once something happened, essentially more like a UDP, or the connection dropped for like half a second, or you had a power outage, that download was invalid. It was skunked. It was gone.
Well, that's why they had Godzilla.
Yeah. And so, but two, like that's why I moved over and started downloading even fully legitimate, non-pirated stuff like via torrents. Just because if something happened, it could pick right back up where it was at. Okay, I'm missing these specific packets over here and this one over here, so it just reformatted and bundled it back together once it had all the pieces and parts. And for me, that saved me so much time. And biting my nails, hoping something finally downloads.
Did any of you ever work at a university or go to a university where someone was running a pirate server that everybody accessed?
I didn't work at one, but I used to utilize them often.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Apparently, all the files on the pirate server at my university were aimed for CDC. Everything.
Interesting.
And I don't think it's coincidence. I don't think it's just coincidence. Because it was lowercase c, uppercase d, lowercase c. So that's, I don't know. I didn't hear anything else about someone cult of dead cow there. That was just the only thing.
Yeah, but too, they had small server farms popped up in quite a few places, so it would have only taken one person.
Yeah.
Plus, if I remember right, I think they tried to kind of target universities, because universities, especially 2000 through I'd say probably 2006 or 7, almost exclusively had the largest pipes out of almost any companies, anything outside of maybe
Google.
Nah, I wouldn't even say Google at that point. I'm thinking more like in 3-letter hacking agency, and NSA, CIA, some of those. I figure they had some massive back ends, but universities had the second largest to them.
Yeah, it was funny when I was going over, switching over all of my dad's DNS requests over to Cloudflare and showing him a couple of tricks that I had learned.
Yeah.
I saw this weird IP that all of his stuff was going to, and my dad is a very technical guy.
Yeah.
And it's not unfathomable for him to actually know what any of this is, like normal dads mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had all of his DNS records routing to the University of Minnesota.
Nice.
Their DNS server. I'm like, okay. He was like, yeah, and it's like I just have that memorized from college. I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, when I did a bunch of, we're not going to talk about that.
Well, but too, if you think about it, there are some DNS servers out there that are publicly accessible, right? That they have some major money behind that DNS server.
Oh, yeah.
As to some of the security precautions that they're taking. And so oftentimes, now granted, a lot of malware does run purely based off of IP address. That DNS isn't going to help you at all.
Dude, I really miss some of the shady shit people used to do on the internet back in the day.
Oh, yeah. And some of the shady stuff still happens. Not as much because, so much people exasperate it. What's the word?
Exasperate.
Exacerbate.
Yeah. It and end up
I'm
getting
I'm baiting so hard right now.
Oh, I bet you are, but get you in legal trouble over. So it definitely doesn't happen as much, at least from a cultural sharing perspective. But
Damn, our views have gone down from 10 to 6 now. I've been doing too much baiting on the stream or something. I don't know.
You are baiting
I had
the
it.
world out of it.
I can tell you that all of them have moved to more or newer things that people are like, this isn't really a big issue in terms of like newsworthy.
But yeah, with the DNS lookups, right? But a ton of the malware out there, though, their backend authors want to be able to still control that malware. So they're going to have one site, and they're just going to keep moving it from IP to IP to IP, and just keep updating those DNS, the A records and everything. So as they get killed off of one ISP, they go to another, to another, to another, essentially almost infinitely, because eventually the ISP A is going to free them up again. So, but yeah, that's the benefit of DNS. But if you have a kind of strong DNS security in place, and it's malware or something like that that utilizes DNS heavily, you can essentially stop it cold in its tracks if it can't do its call home. Not everything, but quite a bit.
Yeah. Domain filtering, as long as you have a switch firewall that is newer, built within the last 10 years.
Yeah, usually the ones that are considered next generation, which I wouldn't necessarily consider them next generation, but they call themselves next generation firewalls. Will have some type of web filtering, and if you can get away with it, try to go down the road of actually whitelisting domains. So go from a deny all essentially, and only run through whitelisted domains on top of a deny all, because you're going to stop almost everything then. That's doing DNS hookups. And two, if you're doing IP reputational lists, if you are whitelisting, going from a deny all and only whitelisting approved IP access, you're not really going to have anything call home if it has no route to get there. So,
and then you got BYOD, and then it's like all that crap's out the window.
Well, and that's why you got to have policy, and you have to have leadership, backing the security precautions that are taking place. And if you have BYOD, that's why you got to have something that says no BYOD, or at very minimum, they have their own segment, they have their own wireless, they're fully ACL'd, or even a fully separate system for them to be on, and let them do their thing. They can be infected all day long, but as long as it's not touching anything internal of yours, who cares?
Yeah, always kind of wary about only doing a whitelisting for DNS, because that's obviously only going to work for very, very, very niche scenarios. Even though the internet is a lot more centralized than it used to be, it's not that centralized. Ultimately, I've seen companies that tried that. I've heard of the government doing that, and the result is always predictable. You're doing a denial of service attack on yourself.
I've seen a couple companies successfully do it. I'm not saying it's easy. It's definitely not easy. You probably are not going to get this into a long-standing existing company. But if you are a startup and you start doing something like this from the ground up, I think it's something that could definitely be achievable.
I can just imagine
could be done.
I can just imagine the process for that. Like, okay, I'm loading up Washington Post and something broke. I can see it's trying to load 50 different domains. Let's go ahead and try these one by one until we find out the one that's the correct one that's loading whatever content we need. We'll repeat that ad nauseum for every website.
There's more automated ways to do that. So there are solutions out there that can automate that process. Yeah, you don't want to be doing it fully from a purely manual standpoint. But
how would you automate in a way that wouldn't also automate allowing the C2 domain?
Well, I mean,
because
there's
the C2 is unknown. So
right.
you're only going off of knowns. So if you start going against public lists of good sites and only allow the good sites, per their good, you can start automating it.
That's like a
Right.
recipe for pissing off users
Oh, well, yeah.
and
But
crippling yourself dramatically.
depends on what your users need to do and what the expectation has been laid out for them. Like if there's an expectation that they can come into work and browse any website they want and, at any time they want, yeah, you're going to piss everybody off. But if there's a laid out expectation that, whenever you come to work, you work, that ultimately anything you do on the network, on work-based systems is, property, everything else of the company.
Imagine using
Start to move away from
Google,
that more.
assuming Google's permitted, and every single day there's at least one or two websites where you're going to have to go to help desk or your IT guy and ask them to whitelist this. After a few months, there's going to be people who's going to want to kill you.
No, not really. I mean, you should already have a policy that says either you fill out this form or you submit this request. And there should be an automated turnaround time of it goes from this person to this person right here signs off on it, or this team signs off on it, and and then it's applied to the DNS server. It should be fairly.
How is a layperson going to know what's the subdomain that you need to make this some other website, this new website functional?
Because there's like a 0.0001% chance that you are the first person who's ever touched that. I mean, because I used to do a similar type of thing, not as large a scale, even with WebSense, or prior to WebSense, Surf Control. Well, now it's not even WebSense. Now it's a Triton.
Right.
Where you have unclassified domains. So unclassified domains are just things that they've never seen. And hell yeah, I blocked out unclassified domains for 3,000 users. And any time that something came up as an unclassified domain, yep, they had to submit the request. There had to be business justification behind it before we would even look at it. Well, before I would even look at it. And if there was business justification, then I would validate it. I would figure out what needed to be unblocked, and I would unblock it. But that was, maybe once every 2 weeks I had to do something like that for 3,000 users. But two, we had whitelists. We had things they were never going to get to. So,
You mean a blacklist?
No, well, yeah, blacklist. But I'd say probably 5 or 6 years ago, blacklist took a unfavorable undertone, so everybody started calling everything blocklist.
Right. Because I mean, because I've done what you did. I did both the whitelist as well as the black hole list. The black hole list got issued every 12 hours. And it was sizable, but I mean, for the most part, I was doing more black holing than I was actually doing any whitelisting.
Well, but with the black hole, that should be, more on the automate. If you just don't allow access, that is your block list or your black hole.
But no, I mean these are. It was just the network posture. So it was either going to be IP based or it was going to be by domain.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also you do both.
Right.
Because IP addresses still obviously exist, but if you only do it by domain, that doesn't give you any real control over actual IP addresses. So you definitely have to mix the two. And I think it's good to mix the two. Because domains will change their IPs, but an IP doesn't have to be associated with a domain.
Right. All I was just saying was that I did more blacklisting than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, which would suck.
Not really. Like I said, it was just a list that got delivered every 12 hours. So it is what it is.
Oh, but that was automated.
I'd absolutely understand because there's plenty of commercial services that offer, or even free services. It was here is a list of bad domains, block them. I've never seen something similar which says, here's a list of good domains you can whitelist on your network, and your employees should have a decent ability to conduct their work.
You do realize who you work for, right?
Yes, I do, and none of the listeners do, and nor will they.
All I'm just saying is that
Okay, just so everybody knows, he works network security for White Castle. I'm joking. He doesn't.
White Castle.
Man, wouldn't that be awesome? You got to wonder, if you get like free White Castle. Man.
Love those Barry bombers.
I'm not sure if that's like a good or not, because I'm not a pothead, man.
Hey, I'm not a pothead either, but I do like White Castle once in a while.
I've had White Castle once. It's like, it's 2 a.m. It's the only place open. It's food, but
see,
there's other options.
You're already on the upper echelon because number one, you consider it food. There's a lot.
It's calories. It's calories.
It is.
This is energy.
Metabolic fuel.
Which, fun fact, is what they call calories in Europe.
Interesting. Okay, we're on the second thing, I think, in the show notes. So
yeah, let's get going.
Yeah, so we're on to the phone thing.
Okay. So that was
EHR rep thing.
HR employee at a cell phone shop sends former employee thousands of customer and employee records unsolicited. What?
The
Sounds like somebody wants to go to jail.
former employee emailed asking for some information about his employment record, and she replied back with a PDF file. With that PDF,
Oh, Frank's here. Hey,
Yeah.
Frank.
Hi.
Hey.
that PDF file had nothing to do with his job. The PDF file she sent him was a printout of hundreds of thousands of just customer data for some reason that she attached the wrong file, and she sent him like name, address, social security number of tons of people.
Really? Social security numbers were included in this?
I don't know why you need social security numbers to get a cell phone, but
Credit check.
So this is people who are like doing a monthly payment on their cell phone, right?
yeah.
That
For a credit check?
or postpaid.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you're buying a cell phone plan, like you pay every month, that's a postpaid, and they want to do credit checks to make sure you actually pay your fucking bill.
Yeah. Holy crap.
And
This will be interesting to see. Huh?
they still owe that guy $7,000. They never paid him also. So not only it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, this will be interesting to see some additional info on here in the upcoming weeks, just because this feels like somebody's going to be arrested.
And AT&T is so good with their track record.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately too, who has access to the data? Least privilege model. Do they need access? No, then they shouldn't have access. And obviously they were able to exfiltrate the data. Who was watching this information? As to who's accessing it at what time? Downloading all this information. And she said, I think it said it was a woman. It was sent as a PDF.
I thought that's what I read somewhere. I might have made that up in my head, but that's what I thought it said.
That may have been. I thought I read it, but I just searched PDF and didn't find anything. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. And it was sent via email, which it's not too difficult to search for PI or social security numbers, personal identifiable information within email messages. So it's not like not like it was a USB drive, or something more
Yeah.
difficult to detect. It was, through communication platforms and means that should be scanned by everybody. Okay, what do we got next?
We got the Small Business Association getting their website breached. So the site that you'd go to fill out information if you want a loan.
Oh, yeah. I think we
Association-
went through that one last week.
Oh, all right. Then we'll skip it this week.
Yeah.
Next, we have Warwick University was
And
hacked.
the UCK.
Here?
We got another UCK. Yes.
Yeah, they're just telling people about it now. That happened last year.
How many accounts were compromised there?
It doesn't say, but it says there have been multiple data breaches. So,
Oh, fun.
yeah. Because their cybersecurity protections were so poor, as per the findings of an internal report, it was impossible for the university to identify what data has been stolen.
Well, guess we don't know. What data or how many people have been affected? What was that, Cappy?
Translation, no logs.
Yeah.
Additionally, they are under fire after a reported breach cover-up as of yesterday via Info Security Magazine. Trying to look and see if I can find a statement here from the university anyway.
Is there any legal precedence for breach cover-ups? I mean,
No, well, not. I
Like-
mean, not here in the U.S. I mean, Equifax.
yeah.
So,
I always assume breach cover up or not reporting a breach has been discovered is the default. I always assume that. Like if you're in the IT team and you notice like, oh shit, something happened. We're going to be in the news. Our stock price is going to tank. And I'm going to get grilled here. Maybe I should just try to see if I can take care of this myself, not inform legal, and pretend it never happened.
Yeah.
You got to assume that is extremely common.
I would say, 6-7 years ago, yes. And I'm not, arguing that it's not probably common today, but I would say it would have been more common, years ago. But with all these companies we've seen over the years get breached in very, very bad ways, work through them in very poor means. We didn't see really consumer confidence drop on those companies all that much. Stock price, it may take a hit right whenever the breach is disclosed, but almost 100% of the time, stock price and consumer confidence goes right back up.
For most companies, yes. I mean, there are occasionally small companies that do fold.
Like we've talked about some of these small law firms and small health practices where there was like a ransomware attack or something, and they weren't able to make their way back after that. So there's definitely the outliers, but and two, it's probably going to be more on the small companies as opposed to like the mid-size, large and enterprise. But in today's day and age, I think if you are not a small company, screw it, get it out there, get it over with, and your company's still going to move on and progress.
So someone who actually follows, the stock price of a company that's been dragged through the media, actually seeing that the company's doing better than ever, that their insurance covered most of the costs, that all the extra free publicity they got from the news cycles actually meant the breach was a net gain for them. The layperson, or even like most people, are not going to know that.
Yeah.
So like Joe Schmo IT guy, he's not going to know that.
Yeah.
But I will absolutely agree. It probably is less common now than it was 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because 6 or 7 years ago, everybody was still, in that holding pattern. Okay, something happened. Well, we don't know how bad it's going to be, so nobody at that point is going to want to disclose, right? Just because they haven't seen the Home Depot and the Equifaxes and everything else. But now that all that has come out, we've seen them, their stock prices do perfectly fine. It's like, if you have, even probably $3,000-4,000 or 3,000-4,000 employees, and you're publicly traded, it's still probably not going to affect you all that much. Now, if you're 250, 500 employee company or less, that it could be impactful. But if you're bigger than that, probably not going to be that impactful from a public perception.
Well,
Yeah.
and with public perception, it's so easy to just point it at
And
a bad
manipulate.
act.
We couldn't do anything. It was some APT. The common wisdom says you can't defend against all hacks. There's no guarantee. Our compromise is an outlier.
Yeah. That would hold true in 90% of it with just
Please, please. That's true in like 100% of it, if even that.
Yeah.
No, most people get popped because of bad configuration or not having the stuff patched or
just
phishing. Combination of that.
Phishing.
Yeah,
Because I
mean,
make a point
phishing.
on phishing.
So
Phishing is going to be the way, and is the way that most ransomwares that I've had to investigate have gained initial entry. They're not looking at your external. External was too hard. They've got deadlines and
they're going to
quotas.
take the path of least resistance.
Yeah, they have deadlines and quotas that they have to meet. If they're not encrypting your shit, they're not making money or doing anything really. But what was I gonna say here? The one thing that it doesn't help with is like with Equifax, because it was a well documented and well known vulnerability that was patched, and you being Equifax are the largest credit, or one of the like two largest crediting agencies in the United States. Yeah, you're going to be a target. So it's up to you. Yeah, blatant disregard for security is insane. So
I mean, Equifax is a bit of a. I'll finish up with Peter real quick, and you can go, Charles. Like Equifax is a bit of an exception as far as public perception goes, because even it doesn't take a specialist to realize Equifax is too big to fail. It doesn't matter how big the breach was. Congress is not going to allow them to fail. The repercussions throughout the economy would have been too great.
And these are facts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yo. Yeah. Yeah, just kind of getting everything situated. We had a long web app test today, so found some good juicy findings. Web app, it's funny because juicy. You know what's funny though, with web app testing, it's a longer process. It's a lot longer because you're doing like source code. You're looking at source code and you're trying different things. I think I used a repeater like 1,000 times today.
Oh, you are so lucky. You get source code.
No, I don't get source code. We take it. Oops. Uh-oh. No.
He got source code.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see some source code.
He printed it off. He's grabbing it right now.
Yeah. He went to a couple lines in, then all of a sudden saw "Hello World."
Oh, that would be crazy. That would be. You know what? That would be great. I'll be like, oh, I know what the code does. It does this.
You're like, finally, I know it without having to really work on it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, but it was some good juicy findings. Of course, as usual, having fun and enjoying it. But yeah, to piggyback on what you were saying earlier, the only way in now really is through phishing. I mean,
Easy
easy
way. I'll say that easy
or consistent.
Yeah, it's less resistance, definitely, of course. Going the external route is still possible, but Yeah, you got a lot of obstacles in your way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it used to be for the most part.
Right. God, I missed the days of Telnet being open. Please.
All right, looking at port. What's the port number?
23.
DEFCON? I know.
Oh, port. I want. God, I miss port 23. I miss FTP when it's anonymous. I miss all of it. I miss pretty much OSCP style stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no.
5,090,778 open telnet ports to the internet.
Look at that. Look at that.
Why?
Well, the answer is minimum viable product.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of those are still going to be old school PBXs. Not the majority, but still quite a
There's
few
a Windows
out there.
XP.
Why?
Oh, I used to see PBXs all over the place because they would have some third-party company who supported the PBX that would telnet into the system, for maintenance procedures or whatnot. But then that PBX would still be, IP'd into the rest of the environment. So, it used to be really nice.
Let's see. There are 15 XP systems that are open to the internet with telnet facing outbound. All of them from like 3 companies, I think, or most of them from like one company. There's only like 5 companies here.
That's probably going to be like a Cisco Talos.
Probably, but it's multiple devices. So
That'd be funny if they were all honeypots.
I was about to say it's probably a honeypot or somebody's running that false report script that I used to do on I used to put on my systems for MAP.
Yeah.
where it would detect the scan and then it would just throw off all kinds of false positives to
Yeah, I can definitely see that with this one, or because a lot of these are like they're not showing anything outside, or Sheldon's not showing me any response headers or anything like that. So those are honeypots, like the 14 that are in the US that are Windows XP. Yeah, but a lot of these other ones, woo, yeah, these are definitely Cisco router, Cisco Catalyst switch, drop bear, SSH daemon. Why would that be running on?
A lot of embedded devices use that.
Yeah, is that running on port 23? Yeah, it is.
What was that?
Drop bear SSH is running on telnet port. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. I would configure that out only internally though. But yeah, I would do that at times back in the day.
Yeah, that makes sense though, especially if you got like automated scripts that you don't want to screw up and they're expecting this port.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes kind of sense to me on a development level, but at least it's SSH.
Okay, what do we have next?
Another Marriott breach. Oh my god,
you're doing so good.
Oh yeah, so speaking of Home Depot, Equifax, oh yeah, Marriott.
Yeah,
they got pwned again. This time it was a
won't get pwned again.
So it was a hotel that was on their network that wasn't one of their official name branded hotels, but still had access to the Marriott network.
Nice.
And their workings, and they got owned, and then the hacker was able to access all sorts of fun data.
Death by third party.
I mean, it's not even. Well, this one I don't feel like this is third party. If they are on their network, this is still them.
Yeah.
It's Starwood. It's like a brand of Marriott hotels it's a brand they acquired.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, just like the biggie was Starwood, right?
Yep.
And then actual Marriott was breached, and now we got this one that's like another Starwood. It's like, Gosh, come on. Where is Marriott headquartered? Like, where is their security team most likely?
Security.
Yeah.
Security. Security.
Never get pwned again.
That's what you think.
Let's see. Oh, New York. Hey, Frank.
Yo.
They may be looking for some security people here soon.
Security.
Apparently, they're based out of New York.
That makes sense.
New York, New York.
Sometimes I miss New York. Sometimes.
Yeah, there's always that one time.
Yeah.
I think I've only driven through once by accident.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was.
What?
Just accidentally
I-
get on that.
Well, I mean,
bridge.
I went where the GPS told me to go
Yeah.
in a rental car, and apparently I was in Yonkers, maybe?
Oh, hi. My hometown.
And the traffic sucks.
Yeah, it does.
I don't even like driving in downtown Louisville, much less New York. Shit.
Yeah, Yonkers is a different animal.
Beast. Yes.
Yeah, it's very different.
You get a lot of people like Charles there. Very ambitious and happy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The happy girl is not accepted.
I've heard the average New York disposition is not exactly, even though Charles is from New York, my understanding is the average disposition of a New Yorker is not the same as Charles.
No, it really isn't.
Well,
Because
very few of them are as attractive as Charles, though.
well,
So-
see, you know,
He does have a real putty mouth.
oh God, I try to keep it bold and fresh.
See,
was-
Oh, that's what she said too.
I'm staying either suburbs of some other city, like I'm in suburbs of Louisville right now.
Okay,
I may only go more rural. I mean, I may go out someplace where I can actually have a gun range at my own house. That's
So, am I the only one when you see like a job posting for IT manager of security, you start thinking they probably had a breach when they didn't formally have an IT security department?
Or they just had a their head leave for another opportunity.
Yeah, because
That's
it
my
depends.
suggestion.
You know, there's usually going to be 3 different scenarios. So with a breach, is going to be one scenario, and they were let go. You're going to have somebody moving up in the company to director, CISO, CIO, whatever next level up is, and they didn't have anybody qualified down below, or manager just left, and there's nobody qualified below. So, yeah, I kind of think that once in a while, but not. It also probably depends on where in the country you are, too.
Right. I mean,
You know.
if you start seeing the same job posted like every year, once a year, or once every 6 or twice a year, or whatever, then that's when you should be worried.
Yeah, and why is that, Jack?
Probably because it's the same situation that I find myself under NDA about.
Yeah. So essentially, what Jack's getting at is because you end up having poor management, lack of funding. There's something that is not allowing you to drive a security program forward, and so it's not going to be worth your time to stay there. Most of the time, no matter what the money is that you're getting paid, it's not going to be worth that effort. Because you're going to have more heartache and headache and everything else, all kinds of aches over it. So, and Charles does not know about aches because this man gets up in the morning full of life and has no aches ever. He's going to be the only person to pass away at the age of 150, never having had an ache in his body.
No, no, I mean, I've had my aches and pains from football, but I mean, other than that, like aches and pains of like just being sad and stuff. Oh no, I refuse. I refuse to have those aches and pains. I refuse. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I just feel a different way about life, and like I said earlier, no matter how you feel about yourself,
Don't wreck yourself.
Nah, just know, just know that you are worth it, and I'm rooting for you, and I love you all.
Aw.
So yeah, these the sadness department. No, I can't do it. I see too many people in a lot worse situations than me, and what am I complaining about? What's my problem? You know, I got choices.
You're not as tall as Caprico.
Yeah, I know I'm not as tall as Capricorn.
Yeah.
But you know, again, I'm not a shorty, so I'm in between, so I'm shorty, so that's good. So that helps. You know, I'm not skilo. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller.
I wish I had a girl that looked good. I would call her. I wish I had a rabbit in a hat with a bat, a 6'4" Paula.
Hey,
What the hell song is this? I don't even know it.
Oh my gosh, really?
Wow.
Shit, man. Yeah, I haven't even heard of
Send
it.
me the YouTube link.
God, man, in my teenage years, I was listening to Weird Al Yankovic and AC/DC, and that was about it.
This
I mean,
was
I would say-
pre-Weird Al.
No, this was 90s.
There's 95.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 86, 87. Are you sure?
Oh, hell
95?
no.
Skilo was
No.
95.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And you're making me older. I wasn't a teenager in the 80s.
Yeah, but you look like one. No.
Yeah, he popped out a full-grown man.
Your mom was so pissed off at you and still
I know,
is.
right? Oh.
And he came out and he exclaimed the words, "What's up?"
Started screaming, yeah.
No, he came out. He's like, yip, yip.
Well, you know what's funny? Like I said, as a kid, I've always been a morning person. So I'm the morning.
Holy crap. Yeah, you're right. 1995.
Yeah.
Dang, I thought it was before. I thought for sure I was listening to that, when I was young.
Oh man, I was in high school when that was out. I was like, oh.
I remember watching that on the box.
Oh, you took it back. Remember the box? Yeah.
That's true. He was not tall.
No, he was a little person close to, But yeah, I mean, I look at stuff like that and I just say I feel lucky.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm trying to be here as low as I can. I made 40. I'm trying to be 40 more. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. And 80, 90 years old with a controller in my hand.
Okay, so you're 40. What was your birthday again?
March 20th.
Excellent. What was the last 4 years social?
10. 10.
Oh, that's 6 numbers. Okay,
I would give it away.
I'll take the last 6
on this cast. Hell, man, I even what is it? I blurred out the dates on my fucking tombstone when I posted it a while back. my tombstone already has a name on it.
I don't want you blurring out your tombstone. That's scary.
Yeah.
We need you around, Adrian.
I plan on being around to annoy people for quite a while longer, but it just happens that I think my great grandfather or my grandfather bought some tombstones, and they're already there. And for whatever reason, they decided to go ahead and, after my mom passed away, I think it was, put my name on it. So it has my date of birth, my full name, and no date of death as of yet.
Yeah, I thought I totally did not expect.
So if any of you women want a man who's prepared, I do have an extra space. And it's unlikely, love my brother, but it's unlikely he's ever going to get married. So, I have an space.
You want a man any ladies want a man that's prepared?
Yes, who plans ahead. And Adrian, I was not expecting your middle name to be Maurice. That totally caught me off guard.
Oh shit, man! My middle name, if you look around enough, it's easier to find. But
Edith.
Now that I figure it may only have my middle initial on it. So, but if you follow me on Twitter, you already have a good idea what my middle initial is.
Well, what my middle name is Brendan.
You are so white. Oh my gosh.
Nah, it's my middle name, Brendan, for real. Brendan.
I've never met a black guy named Brendan.
Yeah, right.
But I know like 100 white Brendans.
No.
All right, we can
Yeah,
change the names because my middle name is Dwayne, and that's a pretty common black name, is it not?
Oh, good. Now I don't have to look on Twitter.
That's okay, Mom. That's okay. My middle name's Juan, so.
Ooh. Jack.
What was your brother's middle name too?
Dos.
Dos.
Trev. No. No, seriously, my middle name is Brendan. No, that's so I guess you've met one. I guess you've met a black Brendan.
Heck yeah. Hey, I totally want to call you Black Brendan now.
No, you don't. No, my name is. Yes, you get it, damn it.
Hey, BB. Hey, Black Brendan. How
No.
are you doing?
I would not answer that. Not all. Mm-mm. I am.
Oh my gosh, my stomach hurts now.
I'm
Charles, you made me so happy tonight. Just to know, that we got another white guy on the cast. I didn't even know it.
What?
Yeah.
Here, wait. I am black. I'm golden brown.
Yeah, but the whitest black dude I've ever met.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I look at the world from a different perspective.
Heck yeah, you do, and we love it. Okay.
All right, up next.
Up next.
Got somebody hacked one of the Android app stores, one of the unofficial ones that.
I was about to say the Play Store. Yeah.
Not the Google Play Store, but the I can't even pronounce it properly. Some third-party app store that.
Aptoid or something.
Yeah, I can't say because it's all the word letters are all fucked up. But regardless, this app store is installed by default on a lot of cheap phones. Those kind of phones that you would go and get maybe at Walmart if you didn't have a lot of money, pre-installed.
Or you wanted to have a burner phone to take to DEF CON, and for whatever reason you've been using it since then.
Exactly. So anybody who bought stuff in this had their name and some other information about them taken.
Oh, and the entirety of the app store, not like a singular app, but anything that occurred within this app store.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sucks.
It appears their database was breached by a hacker who claims to have stolen 39 million customer records and published details of 20 million of them.
Damn.
I don't know why only 20 if he's got 39, but including login, email, hash password on a popular hacker forum. So I went to a popular hacker forum and found it, and it's been dehashed already about most of it. So it's already available for anyone to go pull down.
Interesting. So he wasn't just like throwing out there proof that he has or he or she has it. He was actually dumping the entirety of it.
He was selling it on Raid Forum.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, a lot of
Wait. What dump is this?
app.
Oh, some weird app store. Got it.
Yeah, Weird App Store.
Yeah.
I like that official name, Weird App Store.
Yeah,
that works well.
I mean, I used to an old phone use some some app stores that were an app store that was focused entirely on FOSS apps. But yeah, it never really occurred to me that and if to monetize phones, you'd actually be at now that I think about it, I guess some phone vendors would include their own app store on there. But they wouldn't hide Google's app store, at least not in the US, because I think that's kind of required as part of the licensing agreement.
It'll
If
be
you use Android, you have to include the Google Play Store.
Well, not always. I mean, I remember back when I used to mess with those cheap knockoff Android tablets that had those third party Play stores in there.
Yeah.
I could have sworn that was part of Google's licensing agreement for
Oh, I mean, well, think about like the Amazon Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have the kind of like their Fire store, right?
Right.
Where it, kind of ties into Google Play or the Google App Store, but it's still specialized to just the Fire devices.
But you can install the Google App Store on there. It just doesn't come on there when you buy it.
Correct. Yeah.
Huh. Wonder what kind of legal loophole they did, because I know that was a gigantic fucking deal, especially in Europe when I forget what the legal action was, but apparently Google was forced to no longer mandate that the Google Play Store be on Android devices that phone manufacturers in Europe distribute, and
everybody's phones started getting hacked because they were installing third-party apps that weren't signed and everything else.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, as putrid as kind of the security scanning is within the Android shop, at least there's something, right? I can only imagine like just 100% of everyone's apps just being straight downloaded from the internet and not going through.
There's the COVID tracking app that's being distributed by a text message, which it's pretty much people go and install this piece of shit that hijacks their phone, and it's I don't know who would download an app that they saw in a text message and then go download an APK file.
A lot of people.
Site.
I don't know. You hear it a lot on the news, and then suddenly you get a text message. Hi, this is from Google here with your contact tracing app. Install here now. Good times come.
Or this is Senator whatever your state senator or governor. Even better. This is Governor such and such. We're using this to track COVID. Download this to your phone. Woo!
Yeah, that is.
How effective would that be? Good night.
Yeah.
Almost every 50 plus, or especially 60 plus, because it's so lethal to the over 60 population.
Are you being ageist?
Apparently, yes. But
new versions of Android, you double click, you click on an APK file. It'll bring up that unknown sources thing, and like you can just unclick it right there without having to go into settings first. So
exactly, and you could even put something in your message, which attackers do this in phishing all the time. Oh, if it comes up, just press this, and actually walk them through in the text message how to get through and any security notifications to install it on their phone.
Security.
Yep, that would be so effective right now. Okay, we should edit that part out of this show.
Yeah. To be fair, Google's kind of mandatory bundling of Google services is part of how they've gotten such a massive dominance
ecosystem.
It's that too, but I read a case study a few months back. I think it was like a Lithuania, like some country around that area. Apparently, they had their own search engine, which was dominant even since the 90s, up until the mid 2010, up until I think 2010s, where finally Android is coming around, mobile phones, and Google required you have the default Google search, and it took 3-4 years of suing Google to even have them put up a menu saying which would you want for your default search provider. But by that time, the country had moved from like 98% homegrown search engine to Google. It was too late. So Google knows what they're doing with regards to trying to increase market share there. The forced bundling is absolutely increase Google's bottom line.
They are a come in and overtake, 100%. Oh, one thing before we hit some ransomware stuff. Crap. Actually, I'll come back to it later. There's a WordPress plugin that's affecting 100,000
Yep.
WordPress install. Do we have that on the notes anywhere? Because I didn't add it, but I know it was a major one.
I think I saw it down there.
Okay, because the main thing I wanted to say is,
Plug into admin WordPress.
yeah,
Stuff.
yeah, plug into to admin WordPress. Yeah, so if okay, never mind. I'll bring that up whenever we hit that one.
Yeah.
Go on.
One other thing I saw recently is plugin for Chrome, where it essentially turns Chrome into a proxy, and then an attacker can proxy through your Chrome connection and log in as you to all your sites.
Yes.
Your passwords are saved, which is pretty nice.
Yes.
That was put on like a Reddit/r/netsec. I posted it there. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, that one was a good one.
All right, so moving on to ransomware. We have a Colorado hospital shut down by a ransomware attack. But even though that's the title, they were not actually shut down. They engaged a third-party forensics team to mitigate an incident, investigate the incident, and then while that was happening, the hospital stayed open. So the title is stupid. But patient care is always their first priority at this hospital. It's called Parkview Medical Center. And they informed everybody who was there that they were experiencing a network outage, but they didn't tell them exactly what it was. It happened about a week ago.
Nice.
Yeah. Ransomware happens everywhere. I think
almost right.
I claimed that they weren't going to be hitting hospitals, but that didn't last very long.
No, and yeah, that was only one or two groups that actually said that. We have hundreds of groups, so yeah, that was pretty pointless.
Speaking of groups, the hackers behind Shade ransomware decided to shut down their operations and release the keys.
Yeah, which means they're probably made a lot of money and now we'll be regrouping with something new.
Yeah. I've seen this happen a few times now, though. They just decide to shut down operations. They don't explain why they're doing it, but they just release the keys.
Well, one of the reasons why you'll, I bet you may see Shade's source code get released out into different hacker forums. Oftentimes what they'll do is try to get their source code released out onto as many systems as possible so that authorities can't necessarily come back to a singular system or a smaller subset and be able to tie the ransomware to a subset of individuals, and be able to indict and prosecute those people. So they may have felt that law enforcement was getting close to them, and so they wanted to bail, be done, do the good thing, give out the decryption keys. But I'm guessing we'll also see source code release at some point somewhere.
Yeah. The next thing we've got is energy sector giant hit by $11 million ransomware demand. So these guys got hit with ransomware called Ragnar Locker, which has been around for about a year. And this ransomware encrypted a lot of their systems, but they also took about 10 terabytes of data exfiltrated. And it includes employee login names, accounts, URLs, notes, a KeyPass manager database. They took the KeyPass database. That's great. And as proof, they included a link in their ransom note that shows a sample of the stolen files and a screenshot of more, which they threatened to publish, obviously, if they don't pay. Acronis got contracted to help them, and I don't know why you'd pick Acronis of all people, but they came in and they recommended they get some backups. And they helped do some mitigation shit too.
Yeah. And like you said, it is kind of weird that they picked Acronis from like a recovery perspective, or investigative perspective, I don't know that Acronis actually does any type of real IR work.
Acronis Cyber Protection Solutions.
Oh, okay. Because you guys have probably used it in the past, but like Acronis True Image is actually amazing for imaging. Like
It's backup software.
I've always liked it. Even like 10, 15 years ago, whenever it was I first saw it, that was some good stuff. And it made my life a lot easier, or less time consuming compared to, like, say, a what was Semantic Ghost. Holy
back in the day.
cow! I used to use Ghost and move from Ghost to True Image, and it was like night and day.
You ever mess around with Fog?
Times easier. Huh?
You ever mess around with Fog?
No.
Free open source Ghost.
Just because it says Ghost makes me not want to touch it.
Ghost seemed to work pretty well back in the day when I used it, but that's been like
It's classic.
Yeah, I mean, it worked well, but it was just such a pain in the ass to use. It was like, well, just about anything else semantic related.
And you have Ghostcast. Ghostcast was the bomb.
I don't know. I always had bad
machines at once. It was great.
I don't know. I just always had bad luck with Ghost because I remember I had to do a bunch of POS machines, and and I always remember having to reload the image 3 times in order to get it to take.
Well, yeah, like with True Image or Acronis True Image, the hardware did not have to be identical in different machines. Like, it took you to the point where it was not 100% hardware dependent. Whereas with Ghost, you had to have the exact same hardware, the same driver set, same everything in every system to be able to throw that image on. And, granted, like at that point in time, that's what all the backup solutions were doing. Nobody was able to kind of branch out past that. So Acronis and a couple others started coming up around the same time. I don't know who did it first, but they were able to kind of get past that from a technological perspective to where you could take a HP image, or an image that was created from an HP system and throw it over onto an IBM system, and do some things like that. Ghost and McAfee had an imaging platform that I don't remember what it was called because nobody ever used it, but you could do those things now that you had True Image. But yeah, it was, for me, amazing, and that's by far the biggest thing that I remember about Acronis, because man, that took me from in the early days spending a couple hours, maybe 3-4 hours per image, down to I could clone a disk off. I could do a straight disk-to-disk clone with True Image and be done. It was like, and then throw that drive into a new laptop that was a different vendor, and all of a sudden this thing freaking booted up. They did something with the master file table, but man, it just made it so much nicer. Okay, my rant's done.
Today's Irongeek podcast brought to you by Acronis.
Yeah. Essentially.
May your images always be strong.
Please don't sue us.
Watch.
Beep, beep, beep.
So next we have EDP. They are a energy sector giant, and they were hit with an $11 million ransomware. I think I did this already. What am I doing? What is the next one?
That's what you just said. Yes.
Stupid Frank. Pharma giant ExecuFarm suffers data breach / ransomware combo. That's the way you do it now, not just one or the other.
Yeah, that is the new way.
So it's a pharmaceutical firm, and they revealed that attackers recently encrypted its servers and stole corporate and employee data. They explained in a breach notification to the Office of the Vermont Attorney General. That's a new way to do it. Let the Attorney General handle it. That on March 13th, unknown individuals deployed ransomware to its IT systems and sought payment in return for a decryption key. Although upon a thorough investigation, they determined the individuals behind the encryption and sending of these emails may have accessed and or shared select personal information relating to Executive Farm personnel, as well as relating to their data network. So the firm claimed the information stolen included social security numbers, taxpayer IDs, driver's license numbers, passport numbers, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, NI numbers, and beneficiary information. That's all sorts of fun information for a hacker to grab.
And then sell.
Yeah. So it doesn't say here where they mentioned that that they were going to ransom the data back. There's nothing about that in here. That's typically the way they do it nowadays, though. They take the data and then say, if you don't pay us, we're going to release it. And then they pay them, and then they release it anyway.
Some. Those who don't want to be in business for long, that's what they do. Because if they're going to just release the data anyway, that encourages people in the future to 100% not pay the ransom. If they actually hold to the word and don't release the data after a ransom's been paid, once they hit another target and they're becoming notable, that gives more encouragement that, okay, well, if we do pay the ransom, that means that they won't pay release the data, because it's business, right? And even though they are not in a likable business, everybody hates them. If they can be kind of on the up and up, their business will last longer and they'll be more profitable at it.
Interesting.
And I'm kind of surprised, like the Grug predicted the shift from just simply like trying to lock people out of their machines to, from encrypting everything to threatening to leak out. It was like months right after he predicted that shift, it happened.
Well, you put an idea in somebody's head and it won't take long for them to enact it.
It's true. He does have a decent following. It's possible they got the idea from him.
Yeah.
But even if they didn't, there has been a trend, with ransomware becoming more and more popular. It's going to saturate the market, and of course, it's an arms race. So when there's more ransomware, they're going to start developing anti-ransomware techniques. Ways to defeat it, ways to go. Oh, it's easier just to do a restore because we've got things, set to restore better that way. So, if they can easily get around that, then okay, well, then we just exfiltrate your data and hold you hostage.
Exactly.
Yep.
What's to stop them from coming back again after they get paid and being like, yeah, we want some more money now?
At what point do you think, and some of you may have information about this, that once, say, a piece of data leaves a specific hardware, that, it's no longer bound to it and is no longer usable, readable, anything, say like with a database, you had the ability to attach it to whatever processor is currently installed, and if you lose that processor, unfortunately, you're probably going to lose that database without some type of backup mechanism. But having something like that in play, like, do you guys think we will see that in the future, where there will be files, databases, everything else that are tied to, like my system? It can't be accessed and read outside of this system. What was that?
Kind of like those old LPT and serial dongles that were locked.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah.
But I don't think it'll do any good, because in order for the data to actually leave the system, it's going to have to get put into a format that the other system can read. Mm-hmm. So you're going to lose that hardware protection. Like, you mentioned databases. Well, let's stop someone from taking a backup. What's stopping them from run an SQL dump? Now they have your data and they bypass that hardware mechanism anyways.
Yeah.
Additionally, with that kind of goes over the
or the data would become unless you have a predefined key, for doing that backup, like you can't do a backup.
Then I attack the backup server.
Yeah. You would attack the backup server, but I'm saying, right now we can attack essentially any endpoint and get all the data off a singular endpoint, right? At least that makes it that you can't necessarily attack a singular endpoint. Now you have to go towards a backup or some secondary system. It's a layer. It's not an end all be all, but an additional layer in the onion.
If you're talking about just storing the encryption key, sure, but ultimately it's different than data itself. That's different than storing the encrypted data itself. As long as someone, somewhere, or something needs to actually look at that data off of that system at some point in time, it's going to be put in a format that can't just be tied to that system.
Because, and I was going to hit on this, but I'll tail end off that is Liz. That kind of goes against the CIA triangle access. The last thing in the mix. Yeah, you've got confidential, and you've got, I'm forgetting I at the moment. Integrity. You're going to have that, but then accessing it, let's say Joe from accounting needs the spreadsheets from Jill in accounting, and her key doesn't mix well with his, and then you're just going to have them sharing encryption keys, and you're just going to have a ton of different encryption keys on one system then, or a unified encryption key that is going to be stored somewhere in a central location.
Well, it's going to be a memory too.
Yeah, so
that's the thing I just don't like about encryption keys, is because we use them all everywhere, but once it's been utilized, it's going to be active in memory, and until the systems reboot, and there is always the potential of getting it out of memory. So,
yeah, which is also where they're, and the thing with ransomware, at least within the past 2 or 3 years, everything is memory based. They know how to do in-memory exploitation.
Yeah.
I don't see that being a issue for them to do basically memory forensics before they even breach anything.
Yeah. Or if you have the point where you could actually do memory forensics or memory dumps or things like that, you've got pretty high level access in the system anyways, probably full admin or root. And at that point, what the fuck does it matter?
Not everything has to be in memory necessarily. Look at hardware DRM. Look at DRM setups, where I forget exactly where the key is stored. I don't know if it's I don't know. I was under the impression stored in registered in the processor. Secure Enclave, I believe it's called. No, that's the Apple's version of it.
Yeah, Xboxes have something similar to this. There's a DRM key that's hidden inside of the in every Xbox, PS4, game consoles post Xbox or OG Xbox and PS2 are PS3. They encrypt that motherboard, or encrypt that key on the motherboard. Hi, cat.
There are some ways of mitigating this, right? So there's privileged access management, and there's a lot of different solutions for PAM. It's just PAM sucks from a configuration and most of the time from an access perspective. It's not the greatest, but from a security perspective, it's not too shabby, right? Because what it's going to do, like the example earlier, we have 2 people working in finance. One person does one thing within a database, and another person needs to get that information from, say it's even a spreadsheet. What it's going to do is going to open a remote connection for essentially seeing that data and accessing that data, but it's never locally on that endpoint, user A's endpoint. So it's a pretty good solution. I just think we're going to see more advanced solutions as opposed to just RDP types of connections in the future here.
RDP is on the rise, though. I mean, everyone.
Yeah, from an attack perspective, it sure is. And we have terminal emulation, all that fun stuff. And that's still RDP types of stuff. But yeah, I think we need to have better localized precautions as well. Like Microsoft Windows 10. If you were to try to utilize your existing Windows 10 install on another system, it's going to say screw you because it's tied to the processor. Something like that. I'm not saying exactly that, but
And then
being
you
able
number and re-enter your key, and you're good.
yeah, and there's ways to work around it, but they're also a pain in the ass. I'm just thinking, what additional items can be added in to make data exfiltration even more of a pain in the ass. So any more steps that have to be added in from an attack perspective is always better, because it gives defenders, just that little bit more time of potentially detecting it
And you're
and
100%,
stopping it.
and you're 100% right, but there's also other problems to consider too. Things like in the future vendor lock-in and vendor compatibility,
Yeah.
and all those things. And that's you're basically now trying to add another security layer, which is great, but you're also adding additional complexity,
Agreed.
which interferes with the CIA triad, because the more complex things are, the more likely you are to fuck up the access portion of it.
It's a triangle, not a triad.
Did I say triad?
You did.
You said
But-
okay.
triad.
But with the access side too, and I think it's gotten to be fairly understood with security, you're not always going to be at the exact same accessibility. You will have the accessibility, but not necessarily the speed that you had prior to the security layer being added in, right?
Instead of triangle or what triad? What was everyone use? Triangle or triad? Let's use the word freeway.
Everybody wants a freeway.
Everybody says a three-way.
A three-way. Caprico's eyes have now been opened. Yes. But yeah, and two, not everything's always going to be as accessible. Now, I think the accessibility can be there, but it's not going to be as fast. Just like encryption, as the encryption increases, the time to decrypt also increases. So there's trade-offs. But too, with modern computing systems, we're getting so fast that I think there's things we could do that are within the realm of some of our more modern processors and stupid amounts of memory we have. And the end user may not even notice any difference.
They're just going to outlaw encryption anyway, so what's the point?
Heck yeah, what's encryption? Who cares? Okay, what do we got next?
The IRNA Act does not go forward. Yeah, I'm hoping the IRNA Act does not go forward. That's such a pile of crap. Talking about banning encryption.
Yes.
We covered that in the previous cast, I believe.
Exactly. But yeah, I totally agree. I heart backdoors. I won't say we. I'm joking though. But to people understanding the difference. Well, there is a good video out there. People really need to understand the difference between a backdoor and understood access. There are a few good videos out there about that. Virgin Media, I think, put one of those out. Because a government having access into a system is not a backdoor. Because that's something that has been lawfully executed, that the company is knowingly opening up. A backdoor is going to be something that is unknown in general, to a company, where somebody's able to access systems. So there are some good videos out there, though. And Liz, I'm not talking necessarily to you, obviously.
I'm aware. My views on the matter are pretty public on that.
Yes.
I will say you are in good company with the CCP's recent video trying to rebrand backdoors as not scary and a good thing. or the NSA's attempts to just say we need to rebrand a backdoor as a front door to make it palatable.
Well, that's the thing, because a backdoor has always been a backdoor. Governments do not go through back doors. Governments go through doors that are fully open to them. So, I'm not necessarily for that, but I would prefer people to understand, what that actually is.
There's a video site
appropriately.
that was opening like free premium access here recently. They had a lot of information about backdoors. I think it was called Pornhub.
Like you mentioned, under with a warrant, lawful access, but given the realities of bulk collection surveillance these days by law enforcement agencies with the adequate resources to do so, and warrants which seem to approve processes rather than targets.
Yeah, but a warrant is still going to be somebody going through the front door. That's them giving it to the company opening up the ports, opening up the access, and ta-da.
You have a warrant, government agency, have a warrant to decrypt every single shred of AES 128 encrypted traffic that flowed through every single IXP in the United States and parse every single byte, every single collection of bytes of traffic for every keyword that you want to, as long as your intention is to go after only bad guys. Not a backdoor, from what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, that's not a backdoor. That is a company fully opening up their internal systems to the government.
No,
and I think people should see it as such. It's because it's not a backdoor.
No, what I just described was a backdoor in the encryption protocol, not a backdoor that where a company holds the keys.
Well, anytime that the warrant's involved, the company's going to be opening up their doors for the government to do their stuff.
No, I think we don't have to really do the specifics here. Like, it's one thing for let's take end-to-end encryption out of the equation here. Let's talk about encryption that is mediated by a given company, just to simplify the argument here. If we're talking about that kind of a situation where a company is ordered to decrypt all traffic coming from this user or going to this user from now until a warrant determined time. Sure, I would agree with you in that case. But if this is like a court orders you to change your cryptographic primitives to make it so that every single person in the entire world who uses this encryption can have their communications passively decrypted by a tap on the back, tap on an IXP, that's a backdoor. I don't care if a warrant was involved, that's a backdoor.
If the company is aware that whoever is tapping into the data, then it's not a backdoor if they're allowing it. If the company is not aware and it is a flaw within their systems and a protocol breach has been found, a 0-day, then that is a backdoor from my perspective. Essentially, for me, it comes down to what the company does or does not know and or allow. So if the company does allow it, then it's not a backdoor because they are opening the doors and allowing somebody in. If they don't know about it, but it's still occurring, that's a backdoor.
Let's say, so what about now, let's go enter end-to-end encryption back into that. Let's go to the end-to-end or full disk encryption. Like go back several years to the Apple versus FBI, Apple versus the FBI thing. Yep. Would you consider the FBI's request or demand for Apple to make write? I'm trying to remember the exact specifics here. Was it to write a custom version of their operating system or custom firmware update that would allow, I believe, their FBI to crack it without the system wiping itself after 10 failures?
No, I would not consider that a backdoor. I would consider it a backdoor if the FBI were to figure out a way to get into the encrypted system without Apple knowing about it and being able to abuse that access.
Right, so
funny is did it that way and bought the software from the Israeli government.
Yeah.
Pegasus, I think.
Pegasus, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you consider, let's say, Microsoft? Let us say, what if that Microsoft, because right now, for consumer systems that are using BitLocker, there's key escrow getting involved. Microsoft holds a copy of your decryption key.
Yes.
I mean, that, like that, I could think while some people can argue it's a backdoor, that's, from what I can see, that is fully exposed to the user. User is told Microsoft has a copy of the key, and that should stand the reason that if Microsoft has a copy of the key, Microsoft can be compelled to hand it over with a warrant. I'm trying to think of the best way to summarize this, because I know we've been belaboring the point here. I think a backdoor really depends on who it's a backdoor to. If I buy a product, that's supposed to be secure, and without me knowing, the FBI goes to the vendor, demands they write a custom software update that just targets me to break the security of my product. No, I don't know. I need a bit more time to really get a better example here. There's a lot of stuff when you really get down to the nitty gritty of it. There's so many different edge scenarios. The generally accepted definition of backdoor is breaking encryption protocols by forcing cryptographic weaknesses in them.
See, but I'm not even talking like encryption or protocol or anything else. I'm talking about company versus non-company knowledge of access. So if, like in the Microsoft side with BitLocker, if the FBI works with Microsoft and Microsoft gives them the decryption key, then I don't consider that to be a backdoor. If the FBI hacks into Microsoft, obtains the decryption key, then at least at one or more points in there, then I consider those to be backdoors because they were not obtained with the company's knowledge. So for me, it comes down to access, company permitted access versus not having access with the company's knowledge.
And I think
are my two sides.
Is it
I
possible?
think to build off of Israel's example here, say also the FBI had an exploit for it too that Microsoft did not know about. Like for example, the NSA had Eternal Blue, which there's no evidence that Microsoft knew was an actual thing, but they still used it. That would be a backdoor because the company had no knowledge of it.
Yep, and didn't have the knowledge that the FBI was utilizing it in this case. Yeah.
So, by your definition, is there any single scenario where if a warrant is involved, any product could be considered a backdoor? Is a warrant magically the key that makes it no longer a backdoor?
Not necessarily. If Apple says, there could be a warrant, but if Apple says, no, we're not going to abide by the warrant and we're not going to give you this access, yet the government agency still breaks through and gets access, then that's going to be a backdoor, on my opinion.
I mean, at that point,
because the company is not aware that they've accessed it, they haven't given them permission or access to the data. They forcefully gained access to the data.
So, for all intents and purposes, you're arguing that if the warrant served, that it's no longer a backdoor. Because let's face it, if a company says no, we're not going to comply with the warrant, FBI's not going to waste a 0 day. They're going to fucking arrest people until a warrant's complied with.
But that's not exactly what you just said. You're saying they're going to arrest people, blah, blah, till eventually a warrant is complied with. I'm not saying necessarily in regard to a warrant. I'm just saying the company does or does not know. If the company does know, not a backdoor. If the company does not know, it's a backdoor.
So the end user has no real say in this.
Correct.
So the end user. So even if
The
GM
end
uses
user's
data,
also not
it's
creating the software, doing anything. They're utilizing the software. So it's not like they can necessarily have a say and be able to take any type of action, at least for the most part, in regard to any of that data, if that data is already stored, say, within Microsoft or Apple. And if they want to opt out, then they don't utilize Microsoft or Apple or whoever the company is. And they don't acquire that merchandise. They don't purchase the software.
if you simply don't participate in society, then
Correct.
you don't have to worry about those pesky warrants. I mean, I'm never really sympathetic to those arguments, man. That is the most self-serving thing you can possibly say. It's what those judges would say if you didn't want your mobile ISP selling your location to every single person with a dollar bill, then you shouldn't use a phone. That's fuck whoever said that kind of stuff.
I agree, and I'm not a big fan of ISP selling data, but in the same sense, there's also other precautions that you can take. You can utilize VPN services. There's other things that can be done.
That wouldn't do anything for the
But
ISP.
from a ISP perspective, if they're allowed to do it, they're going to do it. So I'm not going to bitch at an ISP who is allowed to do something whenever there's nothing preventing them from doing it.
Well, they're not doing anything illegal, but you don't have any kind of feelings about various parties, not just the government, but private parties. Also, apparently, the NSO group, just being able to pay every single mobile ISP out there to track every single person they want within the United States. That you don't really care about that. That's no feelings.
I do, but there's also legal precedents that you bring upon them to try to change that behavior. If it's currently something they're allowed to do, the appropriate way to combat that is legally and make it illegal for them to do something like that.
Well, yes, the law is very much
because outside of the law, what are you going to do to stop them?
Well, there's various mechanisms that they use. Like I've talked with some people in the DC area, some people work for think tanks, and they give me a bit of a primer here. They don't really care how something is accomplished as long as it's accomplished. You can create a new norm. You can threaten regulation. You can have a massive advertising campaign. You could convince insurance companies to base premium prices based off of a certain business practice.
Yeah, but supply and demand, if that could work for a specific cause or company, if it doesn't work, they're still going to be there. There's only one finality that will cause them to, at least within the U.S. and many other countries, to be able to stop, will be lawfully. Now, if you want to do social pressure against them, you Twitter bomb them, you do all that other crap, but that's not going to guarantee any results. They may have a strong enough following and enough people don't care that nothing will change. And so you're just going to be frustrated all day long.
Yeah, but, shaming is all most people have power to do.
Not really. I mean, there's tons and tons of laws. I mean, I'd say the vast majority of laws are brought on by people who are pissed off about something, who are your normal everyday people and not, Mr. Congressman and DC type of a situation.
As long as you're not fighting a very well-connected company, sure, but at least for the time being, and I know we've jumped around a lot. If we're going to stick on the mobile ISP side of things, they're they have their tendrils into every single state legislature and the federal legislature. You're not likely to win against them unless, just with your petition that you got, 1,000 people in your city block at your bakes at, it's massive school bake sale to sign. No, nothing's going to get done.
Petitions are completely pointless. I've never seen anything fruitful come out of a petition. I think it's just a complete waste of time on the petitioners and the people trying to petition me. But crap, what are their names? The people who influence congressmen and
Lobbyists.
lobbyists. I mean, I've said for 10 years. One of the worst things we have in Washington are lobbyists. And if we were to fully get rid of lobbyists, that would probably bring one of the biggest, largest changes to Washington. Not allow any type of corporate groups to fund, and this is small, no groups I don't think should be funding any type of a political campaign, whether it's a 100-person company or ExxonMobil or Facebook or Microsoft, anybody else. I mean, I just named some of the 3 largest lobbying groups out there. But I don't think we should have any lobbyists. We should not have corporate campaign donors. Get rid of those 2 things, and we're going to have massive change in DC. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Reminds me of back when I really used to listen to NPR on the radio on the way to work. There was a segment on this very topic. And the argument always is, the First Amendment does not allow you to ban lobbyists because they're talking. They're just talking. And also, if there's a public space, are you going to ban? You can't ban people from being there and then talking to a lawmaker.
Yes, but usually those lobbyists come with checks.
Yeah.
Yes. So
and once you stop that money flow to all these, and it's always amazing whenever you have a junior congressman, then 5 years later they're a multimillionaire. That's pretty amazing, especially at the rate that a congressman gets paid or a congresswoman. So, yeah, I'd like to see a little more of a microscope or a magnifying glass pointed on Congress people. And let's actually see where some of that money is coming from.
Congress.
yeah. Unfortunately for that, we've actually backtracked a lot since Citizens United, the Supreme Court case. It is possible for certain types of nonprofits to make campaign donations and lobby for lawmakers without any disclosure of who's actually funding those organizations.
See, if you all
Wait,
would
you said-
make me dictator for life, I'll just take a small harem and leave everybody else alone. The world will be a libertarian paradise. You just gotta figure out a way to make me dictator for life.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure we can get the tater part, but the dick part, that could probably
I
happen.
can definitely be a dick. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. but we can definitely work on the tater. I like potatoes, so we can work on
You
it.
talk to the people from Idaho to help figure out how to work that out.
Exactly.
I
Well,
appreciate you being a good sport because I know I've been kind of aggressive here.
It's all good. It's a tense topic, so
Where are we in the show notes now?
I was going to
Like
give one more
1/10 of the
opinion.
way through.
No, we're not 1/10 of the way through. We're about to go through vulnerable stuff.
Okay.
I think.
Hey, go ahead. My bad.
No, it's all good. I did have one opinion that I was going to say. If you really want to win against companies that are like that big or wanting to not have a backdoor, you have to go. You can't, in my opinion, you can't go through law or legally. You can't go through and actually show this. Like, you can't show that, this is this or whatever, because then it just gets filed under the next stack of malcontents that government or company, large corporations are able to get away with. And that's the pessimistic view, but the only way that I see that it would happen is if something goes terribly wrong that a company has to shut down, and then because of what either like leaks or they become a huge target or something like that. That's how I see it anyway. But vulnerable stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you go ahead. I don't want to belabor the topic.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. Speaking of taking stuff down, RDP brute forcing.
Brute force things.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now that everyone's working from home. It's great.
Exactly, and that's the rest of the title. RDP brute force attacks are skyrocketing due to remote working.
Yay!
Attackers are increasingly targeting corporate resources by employees who now move to work from home due to lockdown and shelter-in-place orders. Whatever, it's the same thing. Issued during an ongoing pandemic. And for some reason, the popular solution is RDP, and there has been a large growth in the number of brute force attacks against RDP out on the internet. Growth in the number of RDP brute force attacks from Kaspersky has from about what is that? About March 8th. It's sitting around, like every major countries like Italy, USA, Spain, Germany, France, Russia, China. Everything's kind of, well, China really doesn't report anything. So their number is pretty stagnant throughout the entire thing. But the rest of those countries, everything's around about 100K to 200K. And then over the last month or so, everything, especially in the US, has gone up to upwards of 1.4 million to down to about 600,000 different brute force attacks that Kaspersky has logged. And Shodan is also still showing about 4.5 million, almost 4.6 million different servers that are open to the internet right now, which has been steadily going up and down over the past month because they probably get hit and then they have to take it down and then they put it back up. So it's don't put RDP out. VNC also vulnerable. Don't do that. Just get a VPN. For the love of God.
And then you can RDP over the VPN. It's fine.
Yeah, for the most part, just don't lose your VPN creds.
Yeah. So I had a friend call me up the other day, and he does some sysadmin work for a nonprofit. And he's not all that knowledgeable, but he knows some stuff. And he's like, I need to forward a port. I'm like, why do you need to do that? He's like, well, somebody needs, they put in a request and I have to do it. So I walk him through it, and then he's telling me what port it is. It's 3389. I'm like, you're going to forward RDP to the internet? He's like, yeah. I'm like, why would you do that? What's wrong with you? Are you brain damaged? He's like, well, the administrators, they want this done, and I'm helping them out. I'm like, okay, have fun with that.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
You mean to tell me that when they had a meeting decide to do this, there wasn't somebody saying we shouldn't do this?
I wasn't on that meme.
So they were like, they made the decision, let's open up RDP so that this old person who does the billing can get into their machine. That's just great.
No, that's where you that's where you implement a VPN solution where you're able to VPN within your network, and then what you do from the inside of there is what you do from the inside.
I have never met a person who does not know how to click a .exe on their desktop. Double click. Sorry. I have to be specific there. All right.
That's RDP for you.
Yeah.
Next thing we've got is plugin to admin WordPress. I think Israel wanted to take this one.
I've put this one in unless, Israel, you want it.
Nah, you can take it. I only have one follow-up thing to say, once we get towards the end of it, this one.
Yeah. Okay. So WordPress plugin. I think this one hit my radar because it was a larger plugin, and I can't remember. There's about 70,000 different sites that are vulnerable to this plugin, and I'm looking to see which plugin it is real quick here. So the real-time find and replace WordPress plugin is installed on over 100,000 sites, and it allows users to temporarily replace text and code content on their site in real time without having to actually go into the site's source code and make permanent changes. So what this actually is in terms of an exploit, it falls under a cross-site site request forgery or CSRF that leads to stored cross-site scripting attacks. So for those that don't know, cross-site request forgery is you make a request to, say, log into your web application or onto your machine. I then edit that request and change values in it, and then I can replay that attack over and over and over again until I get to my desired result. In this case, it's stored cross-site scripting or stored XSS. And stored XSS is every time that, let's say you have your home page and I do cross-site scripting and it only works one time with that specific link, it's not stored in the page itself. That's called reflective cross-site scripting, because it is actually going to the server and then coming back and saying, and being reflected back at you as the user and saying, hey, this is alert 1 or whatever. With stored cross-site scripting, that actually gets saved to a file that the web server is running. So this is a bigger issue since it's stored, meaning that I could go around and basically mage card attack, because I don't know what these pages are that we're talking about at this point. But let's say there's a payment site that's vulnerable to this, like a Shopify plugin that had this plugin running on side of it. I can literally go and grab and scrape all of your credit cards that are going through your website doing this. It's fun.
That's right.
It's similar to no, mine was even easier to do earlier today. I've also had a fairly large web app to do today. But
apparently without source code. So
yeah, give me source code or give me death.
That's
okay.
Right. My only thing that I wanted to add to this WordPress discussion, if you do have a WordPress site, WordPress in general is fairly secure, as with its structure. Now, every once in a while, something with that platform does arise, and they do address it fairly quickly. And like in this case, we see another issue with a plugin. Plugins are almost always what are exploited with WordPress. So if you do have WordPress, utilize something like Jetpack, which can go in and just automatically anytime. And Cappy, I'm assuming there's an update for this that addresses the vulnerability, right? Yeah.
Yep, there is a patch out.
Yeah. So Jetpack will go out, not necessarily with the themes. I think you can do like the themes and like full-blown WordPress with their paid version, but their freebie version will update all of your plugins automatically. You just install Jetpack, make sure the plugins are within Jetpack so that it's monitoring them. And anytime there's an update to the module or to the plugin, it'll install it. Now, it may make your site crash at some point. That's what happens every once in a while with plugins. Same with application updates and everything else. I personally, my site's on WordPress. I haven't had any issues with updates crashing the site out or anything. So, and I've also never been compromised. But two, I'm not really all that targeted, which is good. But yeah,
you are now.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I would definitely advise looking into Jetpack, and I'm sure there's other ones. Just Jetpack's the one I'm familiar with and know that will automatically update your plugins. But get your plugins and try not to use customized plugins. If you are writing custom plugins, make sure you know your shit. Make sure you're having vulnerability assessments done, not scans, actual assessments, people physically attacking them, like Caprico, Liz and Charles attacking them, looking and finding those vulnerabilities so that you can address them and fix them. So, okay. But that was my only follow-up to that.
Yep.
Next up, weekly bulletin. We're not gonna. What was that, Frank?
No.
Yeah. So
bulletin.
unless Caprico comes back. I'm not planning on going all the way through this. Just advising
All right, so you won't know.
that as we do almost every week, we have the weekly bulletin in here. The U.S. CERT, the CISA goes over some of the top vulnerabilities, classifying them up to 10. 10 is the oh shit, patch your shit vulnerabilities. Out of band, the say maybe 8 and below can probably go into your scheduled patch management timeframes. But yeah, check through it. If there's anything, as always, patch your stuff. Next up, other stuff. Sysmon update version 11. Man, who develops this? Mark Ruff something, right?
Yep. Mark Ruff.
Did you say Mark Ruff? What'd you say?
I don't know what his last
Rusevich, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I think is his name. Yeah. So Sysmon update 11, including features like file deletion, monitoring, reducing reverse DNS lookup noise, and more. Who threw this one in here?
I did.
Okay. What you got?
So, Rasinovich, I think is how you say his last name.
Rasinovich, yes.
Rasina, son of a bitch.
I was going to make
So you guys probably all know what Sysmon is. If you're doing monitoring on a network, you're probably going to have it installed on all the boxes.
Liz loves Sysmon.
Sysmon's good.
Absolutely his favorite thing over the last 2 months.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
What once you understand it, right? It's not too shabby, right?
Yeah, no, it's not too shabby. It's a little bit of learning curve, but what isn't?
Exactly.
Right. So, like you said, that's pretty much the whole thing. They added some new features to it, and I thought that was notable, so I put it in there.
Cool. Now, were those the two did they have anything that was kind of notable? Because I haven't looked through it, but was there anything else that was pretty cool? Because file deletion, that's going to be kind of a major one with ransomware, right? Because ransomware either delete and recreates or modifies. So, and the delete and recreate, for non full disk encryption, that could be so nice because now you don't necessarily have to utilize a honey file, right? In key locations, you could essentially utilize all files. And if you see X amount of files within X amount of time, within a specific time frame, that could be a key indicator for ransomware.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if a whole bunch of files are getting deleted, it's usually not on purpose unless you got somebody doing some maintenance or something.
Yeah, and you could write in
not deleting hundreds of files.
Yeah, and you could write in some precursors okay, so this file that had 100 files, look up to the parent directory, and was it only file deletion or also folder?
I was file delete monitoring and archive to help the responders capture attacker tools.
Okay. So I bet you could also get folder in there and do something okay, so we just had 100 files delete, and normally this would queue red alarms, alerts everywhere, but they were all contained within a parent folder, and we also realized that this parent folder was deleted, and we haven't seen anything else like this on the system, so we're not even going to send that up for review type of thing. So you could, I think this could be really, really good, especially on the ransomware side.
Yeah,
I like that.
Me too. That's why I put it there.
Well, good for you.
Exactly. So U.S. CERT, Microsoft Office 365 recommendations. Who put that in there?
I did. Let's be record on this. If you're not doing what they recommend already, you're fucked.
To put it nicely.
Jack's way of explaining things is very simple. It's either I'm good or you're fucked.
and it could be both at the same time, right?
I'm good. Well, you're fucked.
Well, I mean, I could tell you why I'm on the cast tonight, but I'll save that for after the cast.
Okay.
Yeah, some good tips in here. use multi-factor.
Assign administrator role when
And
using
as
role
always,
factor.
You don't use
use-
that big admin account unless you have to. Use the other ones.
yeah,
Not everyone needs to be domain admin.
yeah, that's
Enable
cute.
alerts on for suspicious activity. Who knew?
Like I said, if you're not doing this already,
Agreed. But too, this is good because a lot of there's a lot of organizations where you will have you won't necessarily have a systems or a security engineer or admin or somebody like that. The top that it goes is going to be from a technical perspective, like a senior network admin or a senior systems admin. So you don't always have kind of like that weight, but being able to take something like this, in hand up to a director, up to a CIO or somebody and saying, listen, here's everything we should be doing. Like, can I get authorization to enforce this within the environment? So having even this one, because this is what, like a 2-pager, having this 2-pager to send to somebody to review and try to get this as something that actually happens is a good thing.
I do like the integrate logs with your existing SIEM tool. It's like, existing SIEM tool. What is those?
Yes. And for the rest of us, we say SIM.
Depends on if I'm actually talking with sales or whatever. I don't. And I say that, and I'm like, wait, no, you're in sales.
And for those of you with E5 licensing, because I think it's going to cost money on the E3 side, but for those of you with E5, look into Microsoft Sentinel. They're making it has SIM functionality now. I can't 100% say yes, it is a full-blown SIM, but it definitely has SIM functionality, alert, triage types of functionality in it, and they're offering that without any additional cost or subscription, but you will have to pay for the storage of the data. So you'll have to get it stood up, get your Azure AD, your regular AD, whatever the case is, pointed to it, get your DNS pointed, get your SQL servers, get all your stuff, and two, I don't know if it supports hardly anything outside of the Microsoft ecosystem. I haven't gotten that ingrained into it, but I know that they are not charging like a subscription fee for it. So if you have the hardware and the storage, you could potentially run that. So just from a SIM perspective. And Google has what's Google have?
All my data.
Yeah, but Google had my story, something like that, where they have their own kind of SIM, but I don't know if it's if you have to pay for that or not, though. Because I'm sure it works in with a lot of their like the Google apps and things like that. But I don't know if you have to pay like a subscription fee or anything for that. Because there's always Elasticsearch and all those newer types of offerings.
Yes, you use Elasticsearch with the Kibana front end.
Yeah.
Please, there isn't an exploit there that I want to use. Well-known exploit, by the way.
Now,
Day.
that has not been patched in any way.
It is patched. It's an
Oh.
older exploit. There was an
Oh, okay.
exploit that it was like my first or second pen test when I was in like right out of college. There was a Kibana front end that was vulnerable to this exploit, which basically had it so that if you inject PHP code into a upload file string and then you call the internal log
Yeah.
on the server, it would replay your PHP code back to wherever, so you could shell it. And
Nice.
I missed the step on calling it back and didn't realize that it was a handler exploit. So, yeah, noob f up, and then I saw a solution the next day on Twitter, and I was like,
So did you crash their server out?
no.
Oh, okay.
I've only done that.
I'm a little disappointed.
I've only done that a couple times.
Gotcha.
Not that one though.
That's good.
That one was I want to say that was an assessment. That wasn't a full-on pen. So it was going to be either, yeah, it was just make sure that the vulnerability's there. So it sucks. Almost got in. I was validating.
Dope.
Mm-hmm. Still is in the report. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Even if you don't get in, you should still put your finding,
Yes.
like version numbers.
Agreed. Well, Adrian, we, I believe, are at the end of the show notes.
Yes, we are.
And in that case, I thank you all for doing most of the work on the Irongeek cast.
Oh, we just bicker back and forth for fun.
I love all you all in a mostly hetero way. Mostly.
Well, Caprico's got that mouth, so.
Well, he's got that youthful zeal too.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think you'd keep up with that.
Probably not.
Haven't changed, and it's been 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. And he's probably going to stay that way for the next 20 years, assuming.
Wait, Cappy, did you say you hadn't changed your underwear in 2 years?
All right.
COVID-19.
Everybody, catch y'all next Wednesday, hopefully. Keep your pimp hands strong, and you have a good night.
No, you
Later.
Later.